just want to do a quick little chat because I feel like maybe I potentially might have some sort of might have hit some sort of nail on the head as a Christian moralistic motherfucker who basically, I don't know, I think, right, I've got cause for concern because I was coming home from the airport, as you know, I got arrested, and I don't buy it. It's like there's something else at play in the world somehow these days. I'm not sure what's going on. More to heaven than earth stuff, you know, because it's like, you remember like everybody talking esoterically about the 11/11 stuff, and people just, it occurred to me just a minute ago, like, people move in their own ways, right? We look around, spot the clock, see the time, whatever, because that's the animal you are. And people say that there's sort of like brackets of animals or demographics of animals to a certain degree or level. We're all 100% unique, but there are certain ones that move energetically perhaps the same. And those are the people that would perhaps be looking at the clock at the same time and seeing 11 at the same time. So that was a phenomenon prior to 9/11. Sorry, go back in time to a miserable time. But I think that that's what we're going through, is some sort of fallout of a lot of evil in the world, if we can be honest about it. Because as far as I'm concerned, demographics at that time when we would have been seeing 11/11 would have been having those two towers on their mind a hell of a lot, because they would have been planning that across the board from USA to Afghanistan, wherever. There would have been a lot of people thinking about that. And if you want any further proof that it's not just a small little collaboration, it's a Masonic creation from a very grassroots level, what occurred on that date. And I fundamentally believe that, for my own reasons, because a guy in the pub even come into the pub with cards with two towers burning on them way before that, way before that. And so it was like, there was a lot of strange happenings on a Masonic level, masonry level, people around. The guy on the Times has that 9/11 on his clock. Like, they took in the Christmas tree at 5 to 11 every night prior to that. You could say it's just practicality and it's a coincidence. But I think it was just a pure sign of they were trying to, esoterically, little community, taking you out of the age of Christ. These people, the bloodline is very deeply ingrained. I don't know if that's why, like, if you highlight this fact, like, we need a broad sense of community. I don't want to make this a long video, I just want to get your interest going to say it's very real what I'm chatting about. Esoterically, we sit in homes, we don't really communicate or commune. You talk about this sort of stuff, you go, conspiracy theory. But I think it would do you very well to wrap your head around the monumental aspect of what your governments and powers that be and institutions that were born up of the land actually work with. Blood of Christ stuff. That's just a person. They're people. They're people. Christ never believed in killing people. He's the only archetypal figure, like obviously Buddha. No death to any. They live calm, peaceful lives. Nobody wants the bloodshed of innocent people, right? So this COVID is very dark to me. It was very dark straight away. Like, I don't know what think tank is this coming from, because living in London, went to a lot of Extinction Rebellions, or saw a lot of things. You get the little glimpse of the Ingrid, Helga, Agba, Uba bird that was all of a sudden some expert super brain just because she sat on the floor and went, come on. We're like human race. You're supposed to have, like, these people, the politicians have been told about that for 80 years. They just ignore climate change, whatever. They've got the liability factor. They've got the dark water factor. They've got the, this is the case. You need to turn it around. You need to turn this around. Every decade, you need to turn this around. Yeah, how much was that, Honda? How much was that? Oh, sorry, Honda, I don't mean to say so. How much was that? Backhand. It's all Evan Almighty stuff. That's all that we're dealing with in conglomerates and corporations. And for speaking like this, I'm not a threat, I'm just being realistic. We all know that. It's in films, TV, everything. It's all been exposed to a certain degree. Or there are some people that are totally in denial and go, COVID, it's about this, it's about that. It might be born of a certain disharmony in the world, in people's hearts and souls. But I felt that 11/11 in my being, because my being is a dynamic electrical thing walking around, like, and it is what it is, and it's like, and when it happens, it is for you to own the truth. Like, when I went to certain festivals and people were sharing, they're saying, it's 100% an inside job, and then they get bought by the BBC that goes, no, just say that, because that's what it is, because it's like a domination effect. So they've been exposed to a certain degree, and I feel like I'm a risks person sometimes because, I don't know, to delay a flight coming home from Venice was a bit scary. Spending the night in a cell was a bit scary. It felt like there was something else going on that I don't understand. And you have to start asking yourself who's who in the game of life, really. Like, who is that? But there's that nomadic feature that I'm looking for outside of your homes, your brick walls, that I was taught to encourage from my large community, from my London community that were looking for change. The people that were stopping traffic and saying, stop commuting to fucking Babylonian hell. They've proved that there's evil, great evil within our structure, within those 9/11 stuff. So it's good to stop and reflect and stop making it all about fucking flu. Because really, it's about you getting yourself up to speed with who you are on the planet, what part of a tribe you want to be in, whether you are denouncing Satan of a certain ilk, because that religion clearly fouled a lot of people. There were people planning, plotting great evil, and I have been feeling so many different energetic wavelengths of people in certain tabloid demographics to this demographic to who is actually really switched on. And these things you talk about, they're covered in hip-hop, they're covered in so much verse everywhere else, they're covered everywhere in certain, places. But do they go to the Borises of the world? Do they go to the politicians of the world? Do the politicians just front a racket because they're bored of a certain privilege and suit a certain agenda? Just to actually be nothing entities in a certain respect. To listen to the experts handed, feed a storyline, whatever. But there are always shadow movements, I do genuinely believe, at play in the social commentary of the masses, so to speak. Because if you really just logically apply the things you learn from a library book about, say, the Knights Templars crossing all over Europe on their horses to feed the banks in the 1300s and things, do you not actually potentially think that all the money was always connected, always has been connected, whether it be through scrolls, whether it be through entertaining France to England to different places? I mean, France, their elitist classes or different people with different understandings, ones that seek to say, this is our little club sort of thing. This is our club. Even, how deep does it run? The knowledge. But the point is, that is the point. And this is why I always go on, when people go on to sort of like, boom, and they jump on racism and stuff like that. It's like, God, don't get jumping on that. Because racism is just relative to where you're from. Liverpool to London, or if you're all in, even down to knights, they had black wealthy knights. And the black people that sold their own slaves were pretty regal as fuck. And there's a lot of money in Africa. And they actually probably the ruling class above even our royalty on some certain levels. It's like how they get it, how it's been working in things you can't see and hear on our social commentary to divide and conquer all the time. Not trying to conquer everything, but I am trying to implement a massive injection of power to the people using the newest technology going, which is this. Well, not, it doesn't have to. It's like in the event of, I think I'm running out of tape. But basically, if